Please be advised that this story touches on issues relating to mental health and suicide,
which some listeners may find upsetting.
I've never found that talking about mental health was particularly uncomfortable. Not until Sydney, my non-binary teenager, dropped a bomb during dinner. Hi, Sid.
Hi.
Tell me about yourself.
My name is Sydney. I'm 16, pronouns they, them. I like to make music and draw and generally do anything with my hands.
So, what's going on at your school?
I was in the marching band at the beginning of this year and last year, and I noticed that a lot of my friends were talking almost constantly about committing suicide or self-harm, and I myself was in a similar place, a similar mindset. But I was worried for a number of my friends because for some of them it seemed like they were serious, and I was worried that they wouldn't make it to our senior year in high school.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So, who did you tell about it?
I talked to my parents, as you.
Sid and I can pretty much talk about anything, but this conversation left me feeling totally unsettled. Was it okay for me to be talking about suicide with Sid? And should we tell the school that they seem to have a serious problem? I decided to reach out to Tracy Klingener, who runs the suicide prevention program at the Mental Health Alliance, a community organization based in Montclair, New Jersey, which is close to home.
Okay, hit record, and we'll just see if it works. And if it doesn't.
So I'd like to ask you a bunch of sort of basic questions. If your kid comes home and says their friends are talking about suicide, what do you do?
So I think you're like most parents where they're not sure if they should even bring up the topic. And that's one of the greatest myths when we're talking about suicide, is that people fear if they say that word suicide, or if they ask that question about suicide, that they're going to put that idea in that person's head. And that's not the case at all. Your kids are already talking about it. You actually give them a safe place to talk about some scary stuff.
So how seriously should we take it if we hear teens talking about suicide?
One of the myths is if a child talks about killing themselves, it's just a cry for help and you should just ignore it because, it's attention seeking or they're being dramatic. And I always say, well, why would we ignore a cry for help? Whatever the situation may be, it's important that if we hear anything about someone thinking about suicide, that we need to tell someone. I could speak from my own experience because years ago I was feeling suicidal and I didn't say anything because I felt like I was a burden to so many people in my life. When I was asked, are you thinking about killing yourself? I felt like this weight was just taken off my shoulders, this burden that I was feeling for so long. It was kind of like, oh my God, I could talk about it.
Tracy, I don't remember people talking about suicide in the schools when I was growing up in the 1970s. What has changed?
Back in the day, no one thought suicide was preventable, so no one spoke about it. And now we realize that it is preventable, and just like there are risk factors for any physical illness, there's risk factors for suicide, along with warning signs. So that's kind of why I go into schools, because I feel like when kids are educated about the signs, how to talk to a friend, it kind of normalizes the conversation, and my hope is to reduce that stigma, through education, through support, through resources, we can help save lives.
That was Tracy Klingener with the Mental Health Association of Montclair, New Jersey. For me, the big takeaway is that parents should definitely be talking to their kids about suicide. And I'm here with Sid now.
Hey.
I'm going to do some reporting, and I'm going to try and find out what we should do. Want to do that with me?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Would you like to be my co-host? I'm thinking of starting a podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. I think it's a really important message that we have to get out to parents and students and teachers across the country.
Yeah, it's scary too. Like, when you first raised it, I had no idea what to say, really.
Yeah, I remember your face. You're like, Yeah.
Together, maybe we can figure out what to do and also help other people figure out what to do.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, good. Well, this is just the beginning. I'm Micah. This is
Sydney.
And
We'll see you along the way.
we'll see you along the way.
Please tune in to our next episode where we will explore how teens and parents can begin to talk about suicide.
This program was produced in association with Wbgo Studios and with support from the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting
And the Rosalind Carter Fellowship for Mental Health Journalism and Media. If you are having thoughts of suicide, please call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988.